Another reason I'm still dressed like this is because I have my gas shut off. The gas company came and shut me off. Just pulled a Nazi. They don't wait at all. The electric company is pretty good about giving you some time, but where I live, the gas company does not give you any breaks, and they'll shut you off over $50. And it's pretty cold in my house. I had a thought about, the main pursuit that I have is getting people to recognize the strategy that is in place against all of us. That appears to be bought into by anybody in a position of media influence. And I'm always looking for the person who's the real thing. I had my Abby Martin let down. But not too bad. They all have something appealing, or else they wouldn't have their jobs at the networks and they wouldn't have their success. But I'm to a part now where I realize they tell us what's going on, but they don't tell us anything about what to do about it. The options that you could... I sit back and I'm like, they're all doing the same thing. They all got a different shtick, but I believe they're told not to do that. Now, you see like a guy like Joseph Farah who runs WND. Even someone like that, you admire his life story that he wanted to get into journalism and be a revolutionary in alternative media. And to an extent he is, but it's like, where'd the money come from for him to get that rolling? That kind of thing requires backing. But he promotes himself as an independent, like Robert Rodriguez, as if he shoots his movies all by himself or something. No. It's just, I wonder how many of them are just in the disinformation game and are told that that's their only option, or else they won't be allowed to be in that position. And how they polarize. You gotta think unity if you want to get anywhere. You cannot just throw your personal policies on somebody else. You've got to take in consideration anything that's worth a pursuit is got to balance, considering the different desires of the people involved. Like Joseph Farah is basically Tea Party Republican. A guy like Alex Jones, he's made it pretty clear that he's libertarian. You got the extreme Republican people like what's her name? God, it's probably good I don't remember her name. The extreme liberal people like Rachel Maddow, and the hosts of the different mainstream talk shows. And they're all talking sarcastic about this bastard in government or that, but I realize it kind of doesn't matter after a certain point how informed you are. You need an answer what to do, and the main thing that I know is unity. People pursuing unity in a group that could grow. It's like, why can't what happened with Scientology happen in the truth movement? Something that starts off, and you can even be a church. Be the church of reality, or the true church of liberty, where we worship the concepts of liberty, and we get to have tax-free status for the contributions, donations to the group. Wouldn't that be great? We had a big town hall, everybody pitches in $5 and we don't have to pay any taxes on it. And I think that's kind of, I really want an answer. I want to know why can't they even come out anonymously? Why can't they write a book, say this is how it is? You get the talk from the aliens or the criminals that tell you that you will die if you expose the real truth. Like Ron Paul, the way he would never address 9/11. That gave him away to me. Not to mention how he's always there. He was a plant from the day one. I mean, he was a magnet for a certain kind of person. These are all people to attract a certain kind of person, get them totally indoctrinated in their own way of looking at things, but then get them to infight with the people they could unify with, should unify with. Another factor is just American hedonism. Like there's some people that owe me some money, right? And they just don't. They just feel like they don't have to, because they're broke and they've got problems and they promise to pay me back and they don't. And it's just, they indulge in their marijuana and their cigarettes and alcohol, and they don't ever budge on that. They've got to have those things, and they won't ever give that up to do right by a friend, you know? And people are just so brainwashed into being hedonists and self-absorbed and, you know, writing themselves the license to just abuse themselves and abuse anybody that shows any caring. So people don't trust people. That makes it worse, too. A lot of people are afraid to join a unification patriot group because they don't trust it. Anyone that went to the Occupy movement last year or 2 years ago, the frustration was how, yeah, people were mad at the government and screaming together, but no one was willing to sacrifice anything or trust anybody. They would rather argue with each other on Facebook. And it was just so disappointing. It's amazing. It just feels like, you know, something is behind it all. It's just a big strategy. And it works for some reason. No matter what it is, the host people. And I'm just afraid. I'm just sincerely afraid because I like believing that there's an answer to all this. And people just, the way they behave, it makes you just so distrustful that there's a possibility. Because if this financial crash that predicted is going to happen this year happens, or if they do anything to us, you know, they've got mosquito drones now with the little, instead they got their own syringe on the front of their face. Have you ever seen the mosquito drones? And they're going to fly around and go to specific addresses and have a camera on whenever they see a person. They can just zero in and try to get at that person at all costs. Once they get on your shoulder or whatever, they'll just inject you with an RFID device and then get a sample of your DNA and fly back. They're coming after people like that. And the TSA, those guys, when they put their hand in a woman's vagina, they go all the way in and they move their fingers. I mean, that's happening more and more. It's standard practice. But people still take it. I just don't understand why there isn't a women's group that, you know, just fights against the groping. None of that's necessary. 9/11 is emphatically provable to have been a farce, false flag nonsense. Nothing happens at airports, and nothing really did before. There's no need for that kind of security. No need for it. They just want to scare everybody. And I just feel like there's a way to scare them. And there's just, you know, the taxes are just, they aren't to steal our money, and they have money. They just want to make sure that we don't have money and we're frustrated and we're just still doing the rat race all the time to get more of it. That's the reason the middle class have the highest tax bracket. Because they're the ones that really got to work. They got to really work hard, so they take the most money from them. And the poor, they make it inviting to be on dependency on the government. And the rich, the rich bribe the rich, and they make them think that they're superior to everybody else. So it's all this psychological warfare by a small group of people. It's got to be a small group of people. I know I say it all the time, but I just want to see a moment where people are like, no more. All the taxes added up for any person cannot be more than 30% ever. We should have a 30% cap where it could be calculated, where here's your yearly income, here's all the taxes they want, and no matter what, just, they can divvy it up for property tax or whatever they want, but each person just gives 20, depending on how much they make, 20 to 30%. And then we get to keep 70%, no matter who you are. And some people get to keep 90. Because the only way they can really believe in the pursuit of happiness of people is that they let them have the money that they've worked for. It's slavery and robbery otherwise. And well, I mean unity. That's what I'm going for. I just think we can speak out against these disinformation outlets. If they're not telling you how to fix the problem, if they're only talking about this latest problem or this latest shitty thing, they're in on it in some way, or they're unwittingly feeding the monster. They're not helping us by telling us these things that make us mad. They are helping the cause of inciting us to do something dumb. If we did a moment of violence, they'll come after us really bad with the martial law. The only answer is a peaceful pursuit to itemize who is guilty and pursue them in court with a large amount of people, and boycotting businesses and boycotting petroleum and rallying at very specific areas for the utility companies and government offices. If we don't like what our state reps are doing, we got to really be clear about what we don't like about it. You want to put Barack Obama in prison? Get a group that's going to do it and say, here's why, here's why, here's why, here's why. It'll probably be a book that's 5 inches thick. I mean, that's all provable. He's done high treason. He's giving away land to China. Large pieces of land, giving it away of America to China in exchange for a cut off the debt that we have to them. I mean, we're the United States. We just tell them to eat shit. And it doesn't belong to him. He doesn't consult us to give away our land. It's ours, not his. A single person can't just give away an entire federal forest. This has got to stop. The complacency has got to stop, and the going along with it has got to stop. We got to figure out a way to boycott the consumerism that they want and to pursue the criminals that are doing this to us. Please consider it. Let's talk about how to go about those two things. Because it's the only peaceful way to go about making the change. If there was a civil war, that'd be disastrous. I had a good talk with a friend of mine earlier, and we realized that the Civil War from 150 years ago is what really did it. That's when everything that we're mad about started. And big money hit us when we were really down. And they were probably all agreeable to British backing to their industrial pursuits in the 1870s and 80s. And all the people just turned into serfs. And it's just been an illusion ever since. You know, maybe they always bill Abraham Lincoln as one of the best presidents ever. Well, he might have been the worst. He might have sold us out. The emancipation wasn't about getting rid of slavery. It was about pissing off the South and then taking over the agriculture areas and moving the slaves to the industrial cities and changing the way slavery is done. So it's an illusion of freedom when it's really slavery for all the races that make less than a certain amount of money.